that child that grew up in that is going to gain that type of education style because they're going to think that's the way it's supposed to be. If there's no correction in that, once you go into a relationship, you're going to take that with you because you think that is the way it's supposed to be. Let's just say if a guy or a wife comes from a healthy two-parent home where the parents, back in generations of old, you grew up, you didn't know that your parents argued. You didn't know that they had any frustration because they did it all behind closed doors away from you. You put the single parent child in the home with a fully functioning guy or woman who came from a healthy marriage, you put them together, it's going to spell disaster because one wasn't used to this and the other one wasn't used to that. So there has to be conversation and counseling. I tell people this all the time. This is your life, okay? You only got one life to live. After this is over, this is it, right? So we have to make the best of it. What we have to do is say, okay, I know how my parent felt in that household. I don't want that to happen to me. So therefore, I'm going to gain education on how to communicate. Okay. Same thing with the fully the guy who came or the female who came from a fully full loving household with two parents. Okay. Hey, let me help you, or let's work together on how to communicate first before we make this long-lasting committed relationship, especially if a relationship is serious about marriage.
Okay. Like, I know for me personally, right, coming up, you know what I'm saying, and activities that I was involved with growing up as a youth and running around in the streets, I have an issue with a person talking to me a certain kind of way.
Yes, me too.
I have a serious issue with a person talking to me a certain kind of way. That tone, that impression, that anything, especially a person that I'm with, my spouse, my wife, my lady, whatever. Do not talk to me that way because that clicks something else. You understand what I'm saying? That clicks because I know how I can be with the man. You understand me? I don't want to be in an aggressive relationship with my woman, with my spouse. So
New York thing.
That I don't know if it's a New York thing, but I know me. You know what I mean? And I say this to say I know me. I know, and I say please, like this would be my whole. Please don't talk to me like that. Please don't talk to me like that. Because if you do, I have to walk off because I have to center myself.
Get yourself back in it, right? Yeah.
I had to get myself back online because if not, there's going to be some things said because at that point I'm in the protective mode.
Yep.
Right.
You understand me? Like, and I can feel it. You know what I mean? And I can feel it, and I don't want to ever be in that type of situation. So my thing is, how can people work on relationships for the communication when you understand like a person? Some people don't realize when they say, please don't talk to me that way, they're not just doing it for themselves.
Right.
They're doing it for the other person. Right.
They're doing it for the other person.
Everybody involved that's in the conversation.
Everybody's involved in that conversation. So how can I get to the point where I say, okay, you know, we can have healthy dialogue.
Right.
Please don't talk to me like that. And recognize when a person said, please don't talk to me like that. And honestly mean it because I mean it. When I say, please don't talk to me like that, I mean it. Like from the bottom of my heart, please don't talk to me like that. You know what I mean? Like, because
we got to feel it now, bro.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And it's just being honest. You know what I mean? Very transparency is major for me. Right? Transparency is major. If you are a secretive person, that bothers me because you want to be me to be upfront with you.
Right. But you secretive.
But you're secretive. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm. I totally get it.
So based on what you're talking about, what has to be established in a dialogue, conversation, monologue, dialogue, listening, okay, where nothing is going on. It's like, okay,
Phones
you
down.
know what? Phones down and
we
let's
in school.
talk,
let's go.
Right? What has to be created very early in the game. We talking about like, okay, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Can I call you sometime? And then you're on the phone for a week. Okay, boom, automatically go into boundary settings. Establish that boundaries in the beginning. When you establish boundaries very early in the game, okay, when those moments come up, when the emotions rise, they're going to remember those. Okay, I don't need to talk to him like that. But when it's taken in and it's not reciprocated on what boundaries not to cross, then it goes into disrespect. When it goes totally into disrespect, disregard, that's when it's like, okay, do I really want to be with this person? We had a boundary setting conversation, and this person totally disrespected my feelings and my wants and didn't hear what I wouldn't tolerate in a relationship. Okay, you know what? It's time to make a serious move to say, you know what? This is what I can't live with. I like for my life to be in peace and harmony, and this is what I can't stand. This is what I'm not going to stand, and I have that right to move on.
Right, and your peace is on trial.
Right,
and when your peace is on trial, you like, you know, come hell or high water, my peace is what I'm after right now. Especially when you get older and you start turning that corner. You like, you know what? It's a lot of stuff I could do without, but when I got my peace, I can make it.
And here's the thing. Here's the dangerous part in this, right? Is let's just say for a relationship that's been, let's just say for a relationship that's just starting out. We talking 2 weeks in. All right, 9 times out of 10. Let's be real. Okay, within a 2-week period nowadays, you done got the goods. Okay, you done got the goods. Feelings done came into place, the whole 9 yards. Nowadays, it's probably within the first week after you done got the goods, right? But you chose not to have that boundary.
Right, you had the physical before the emotion.
Yeah, you had the physical before the emotion. And then when you try to have that type of conversation after each other done gave the goods, okay, you got to think, right? I don't want to hear this, all right? You have that conversation, but then you choose to say, okay, well, I can't let you go. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then you give in because you're thinking about the physical intimacy moment. You're setting yourself up because it's like now you're choosing that physical over the mental. You're choosing that physical over the respect factor. Everything is based on that physical. And then when things turn sour, physical is out the door. Then it's to a point to where it's like they disrespected me. They didn't honor my wishes. They didn't honor this. They didn't honor that. And then both parties are separated. And then there is heavy feelings involved to where I'm depressed. I'm emotional. I can't believe I gave myself to that person. And all they did was just have to honor my wishes.
Right.
Let's make sure that we not focus on the physical portion of it first. And let's do the mental. That's what we're teaching our guys now. Think.
I want to say this. Hold okay. We're going to go over a little bit because there's some questions. I'm not leaving nothing on the table tonight. Right? I'm not leaving nothing on the table. So we're gonna go over, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna go over. Thank y'all for your patience. Make sure y'all got your notepads. Peace, God. Peace, out, God. How you doing? But there's some things like we're talking about rekindling marriages, getting over that hump, the errors that we make in relationships going forward. People think that like they have this situation where you're in the doghouse, you're gonna sleep on the couch tonight, right? Or you're gonna go to bed angry, or whatever the case may be. Or if you don't do what I asked you to do, we're gonna hold back the cookie, right? Or at a certain age, the cookie don't move you at once you done got to a certain age.
Right.
Let's be very transparent. Once you done got to a certain age, the cookie, you can't hold the cookie like you could hold the cookie when you was 20 and 30 years old. Right. So we're talking about individuals, and you say, I'm not going to go to bed with my husband, or I want my husband to be on the couch. When you put distance in a relationship between husband and wife, right, on that level, especially during turbulent times, how much of that is a destructive key component in your relationship?
Yeah, because you're driving that wedge. So you're driving that wedge between you and your spouse. And so it's just like one of the things that we used to always say is like, you give the enemy an inch, he gonna take a foot, right? So that wedge, like your husband sleeping on the sofa, or she's at her girlfriend's house, or she went to her mom's house, right? Those that enemy, right? You know, that little voice that you hear that starts talking to you, man, yo, F that, I'm done with that. Yo, this don't make no sense, and all stuff like that, right? You start building, you start that process of becoming single-mindedness again. So every time that fight comes and that wedge come, or you in the doghouse, you go to your mama house, you go sleep in the car or whatever, you driving that wedge. You bringing yourself back into single-mindedness, because you're like, okay, well, I can see myself, my husband not being here, or my wife not being here. I could get used to this, and then you start talking yourself into that, and then what happens? And the action comes behind that.
And then go ahead.
So when a person puts in a situation where, say, you're in the same house, but you're stranger, like that song, "There's a Stranger in My House."
Yeah.
When you put yourself in a position where there's a stranger in your home, how do you fight to get back to being in a relationship again?
Jahsamel, the thing of it is just simple as this: you start over fresh. And when you start over fresh, we sit down, we put pen in the pad, and we write out our goals. But one thing that we did do when we first sat down, and we wrote out a vision. This is what the vision is for our marriage. This is where we see ourselves going. We're not going to stop the process through divorce or through separation. And both of you have to be on the same page of saying, hey, I want my marriage. And one of the first questions that Chaz and I asked when a client come in, and if the marriage is in turmoil, we say, do you want your marriage? First question we ask both of them. Husband, do you want your marriage? He'll answer. Wife, do you want your marriage? She'll answer. And they'll go, oh my God, we have to fight for this. I don't know how we got here. And
if one says no, they don't want it, we won't take on a client.
Yeah, it stops.
Because
both of you have to be in the mindset of fighting for your marriage and wanting.
And this is the thing that happened. This is the thing. When it begins to be like a stranger in a house, let's just say if the two spouses are acting like that, when that spouse leaves the house and that spouse is at peace, that's dangerous. That's pretty much an indication that relationship is pretty much over.
Single-mindedness.
Okay. When it should be one of those things to where that spouse is looking forward to that other spouse coming home. spending quality time. But if that other spouse is like, okay, I'm just so relieved he's gone,
or I'm gonna just hang at the bar. Hopefully she sleep by the time I get home. That kind of stuff, you
know.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that. But here's one of the things that we have to understand in these type of relationships like this is, okay, we have to ask ourselves, what are we here for? What is our purpose together?
Right.
Why did we fall in love?
Right.
Are we moving forward? Is this still the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, to the point to where when we retire together, we get up together, eat breakfast together, we travel together? Is this the person that I really want to spend the rest of my life with? Not asking yourself that question in the marriage, but asking yourself when you're in a serious dating, committed relationship. Now, you have to ask that question before you make a serious commitment and go into marriage. Okay. If you don't ask yourself that, look, save yourself some time and make the minor adjustments then before you stand in front of a minister, stand before God, and stand in front of witnesses, because everybody watching you saying you did commit to each other. But when you're dating, all of it starts in the dating. All these questions and all these answers have to be asked while you're in a serious dating, committed relationship, because this is your life that you're talking about.
I have a question. During your marriage counseling, when you're working with people, have you ever heard someone say, well, he kind of forced me to marry him. I really wasn't ready to marry him, or I really didn't want to marry him, but he kind of forced me to marry him?
I haven't heard that. But if you're if you was being forced, what was it? Because there was a pregnancy? Was there because he was going to move to another state, another city? You know, huh?
Shotgun weddings.
Yeah, was it a shotgun wedding?
And 9 times out of 10, when it's being forced like that, you know, I'm thinking maybe it was a parents involved, or it was maybe a person, maybe one of the spouses are well off and they just kind of dominate the relationship to where, you know, it's something of that nature. But here we have not heard that. If we do, we really have to do a deeper dive.
Right. They'll be like, okay, so you was forced into marriage. So then I go back to my same question. So do you want to be married? If not, don't waste our time.
Yeah.
Right.
And again,
because marriage should be 2 whole individuals coming together.
But he'll be back. It goes back into, again, entanglement, entitlement, and not just talking about the materialistic side, because you can get an entitlement just by saying, I'm your wife, you're my husband. That's not material. That's you saying, okay, that's possessive to me. All right. Now, I wanted to go back because something I wanted to say when we was talking about certain points. For me, at a point in time in my life back before, if my pet peeve thing is, if I ask you, I say, I don't just need you to hear me. I need you to listen.
Yeah.
I don't want you just hearing me. I want you to listen. And if you don't do that with me, see, then, and I try to tell you, all right, I need my own time out from right now. Because if you keep, it's like that chihuahua that keeps barking and barking and barking. And if I'm a Doberman or a Rottweiler, I don't want to hear that too much more. So my safety thing is, I got to a point where I was dialing 911. They said, why you calling the police? I said, listen, this is for your safety, not mine. And that's how my mentality was. I'm not calling them for me. I'm calling them so they can come and help you, because you put me to the point where it's going to be an emergency for them to come help you.
Wow.
If you're not listening to me. Wow. And I'm serious. I had that mentality. And in some ways I still do, but I'm a work in progress.
Amen. So, we all are.
I said like this here. Now, here's my question to the both of you in the aspect of relationship and marriage, because is it easier as love coaches, when you're counseling individuals who are seeking to become as one versus those who are already married and figure that they got it worked out, but they are on their way to you for something that they have to discuss. Which one to y'all seems to be easier to work out? The couples that are trying to come together and make matters as one, or the ones who are already seasoned in their marriage and got issues?
The ones that are making the new ones, because we're not gutting. We're not gutting and taking out all and then sewing you back up with all the good stuff. You're not trying to change a person's mindset. But the people that's coming, they're like, oh man, I never thought about that. I never thought about that I'm at there's 7 levels of marriage, that there's the romance marriage, there's the realization marriage, there's like the OS marriage, the OS, step in marriage. And so when we show them the 7 levels of marriage, they'll go, man. And if they've been together like 2 or 3 years, we'll be like, you're in one of these levels, because it's not only 7 levels of marriage, it's 7 levels of a relationship as well. You first fall in love, but then there's the realization, right? Then there's the cooperative stage when you coming together. So there's, once you know that you're in these different levels and you're fighting it out, you're arguing, going back and forth, you'll say to yourself, like, you know what? We're in the realization stage. I just realized that that you told me not to talk to you that way, or I just realized you're going to call 911 because I'm barking, I'm that little chihuahua, or I just realized that you don't let down the toilet seat. I just realized you don't even load the dishwasher correctly or want to take out the trash. So those different 7 levels of marriage or 7 levels of relationship, when you read that and you really know where you are at that point, it's so much easier to understand a marriage and a relationship.
And here, what we've been dealing with lately is couples who live together, but not legally married, right? Yeah.
He love that word shack.
So here's the reason why we like to deal with couples that shack. Is because there's a lot of fear, because they actually think that marriage is something totally different than just living together. It's not really, because when you say, okay, hey, you go on a couple of dates and then it's like, all right, let's move in together. Right then, when you're moving together and the male is coming to the house, you're sharing the bills, you're already living a married lifestyle. You're going to go over the 7 levels of marriage. You're going to go over the honeymoon phase, the realization stage, and all the other stages of that 7 levels of marriage without the license and without the last name, and the ceremony. But you're living a married lifestyle. So you're already bonded together, especially a couple who's been bonded together for years, right? But they still saying, now I don't want to marry that person. Well, you got to take a step back and say, all right, you are married, because in a shacking situation, you can't cheat. You got to figure out how to do that still, just like a marriage. You got to figure out how to sneak around. There will be an issue if you hang out with the boys late at night, or you hang out with the girls late at night. All the married things that you do in a marriage relationship, you're going to do it in a shacking situation. So it's got to be knowledge applied to how marriage is supposed to be. And eventually, like, okay, since we married, let's go ahead and finish the process, right? When you finish the process, things will be a little bit easier, because the wife, the girlfriend you're shacking with, feels like, okay, now I'm a complete wife. The husband is like, okay, yeah, I have a family now that I can really do husband duties with, because I don't feel that pressure of the shacking situation behind me. So we coach couples that are living together and educate them on where they are eventually going into finishing the process of marriage.
Okay. Jahsamel, can you read what the God is putting up the question to them so they can answer his situation?
Okay, Igar said it. I hear that it sounds good. However, one of the things we don't think about when making them decisions is the interference of others that spill their options into one of the partner's ear. That's the piece we don't place in the early conversations between partners. I.e., I'm dealing with the issue and I vent to my homie, vice versa, then it become me listening to them and soaking their opinions. So it's like basically, how do you avoid transferring energy from a negative relationship and don't bring it home to yours?
So here's the thing that I do when I'm talking to guys. You have to have an accountability circle, right? You have to have that homeboy that's going to tell you the truth, right? And you value the truth. No matter what, the situation is in his family, we homeboys. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you, if you confide in me, you tell me you're wrong. I'm like, brother, you might have to recorrect that thing, man, because you were wrong. You were wrong in that situation. You probably have to go back, apologize. Man, I don't think I need to apologize. Well, it takes two to make a mistake or blow up happen. So you might want to go back and apologize. You might want to go back and say, okay, hey, look, I was wrong in the situation. How can we fix it? Without giving off your opinion. Because when you give off your opinion to your homeboy and you start siding with him, it's not going to help him. It's going to hinder him because you're agreeing with him, right? We have to give him type of reasoning. I have an accountability circle to where my friends are going to tell me when I'm wrong. They're going to tell me the adjustments I need to make without, but she did it like this. But no, brother, you got to look at your part too. If a friend of yours is, man, I agree with everything you saying, man, I'm going in this relationship. This is what happened to me. You're doing nothing but just transferring energy. And then when you go your separate ways and go home, it's just going to amplify.
Right. You'll be like, so-and-so said this and that. And she's going to be keen enough and wise enough to discern that. She's like, where you get that from? Why are you bringing that to me? And she's going to pick up on that too. So be careful who you talk to and who you share your intimate details with. And it's like you have associates, you have friends, and you have family. You know what I'm saying? So the most intimate details sometimes, it ain't gonna be shared with the associate at work.
Yeah. If you've been married one time, but your homeboy been married 3 times, he might not be the type of guy I need to get advice from.
Exactly. Did we answer that?
I think so. That was his question.
Let's make sure we let him know. Everybody, you tune into the Real to Real 360 show, and we are live with our brother and sister, the love coaches, authentic love marriage coaches. We love them to death, Chaz and Alicia Cohens. You hearing it here. This is the best advice. I mean, I'm loving this episode. It's so dynamic that we're bringing this here on February 14th of 2023, Valentine's Day this year, with everything that's being said. Now, I hope that a lot of people, to include myself, have opened their minds and let this soak in, because this is a dynamic episode, and I'm glad we have went over the time we did, because some of this stuff is very valuable to those who may be just checking in and for those who are still listening. And if you have any questions and comments that you would like to have answered, by all means, drop them in the box and we will read them out to the love coaches and they'll get on it like they do.
Right. He said that was peace, sis. He said that was peace.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Hey sis, that's I got from out there in Long Island.
That's what I was
like, yeah, that's I got right there.
You know what though, guys? There's I have something that I wrote down. That's this 20 well, it's 20 daily habits of happy couples. So I'm not going to read all of them, but I want you guys, you know, out there in the listening world, just to take note of some of these things. 20 habits of happy couples. They make time for one another. Mm-hmm. They don't go to bed mad. Right? You come to a, you know, that you know, like KY's how you say, okay, well, we can't just keep, you know, beating a dead horse over the head, but then come to a point where, okay, we can stop, and you know what? I'm not so upset with you, but I still need understanding on this situation. But I'm gonna go to bed, but I'm not angry. I'm glad that we got to the point where we're not angry, but I need to get to the point of understanding. Right? The other thing is know how important it is to say that I love you, and for each of you guys to say it back to one another. All right. Understand each other's love language. Write those goals out that we talked about. Make those sacrifices for one another and wholeheartedly mean it. Not looking for anything, but like, oh, well, I did this for you. What you gonna do for me? But make that wholeheartedly sacrifice for one another. Okay. Listen wholeheartedly. Listen to, not to win, but listen to hear the heart of your spouse or your significant other. Okay. Don't compare your relationship to each marriage, each relationship is just like a snowflake. And they say there are no two snowflakes that are alike in even a thumbprint. Right.
That's right.
Be spontaneous. Be spontaneous. You know, they say, hey, you know what? She come home, she got a roll in her hair. Like, all right, take that out, babe. Come on, let's go. We're going. And it could be something that she talked about 6 months ago, and you end up taking her somewhere on that spontaneous moment, or she does it for you. All right. Check in throughout the day. Don't just go throughout the whole day and not check in with your spouse. Not check in with home. You're the king of the house. Check in, like, hey, what's going on? Is that light still flickering? All right, I'm gonna take care of that when I get home. Is that water still dripping? All right, I got that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm checking out lights now. Everything good.
And don't get others involved in relationships. Don't get others involved in your relationships. Again, don't get others involved in your relationships. Be careful of who you get involved in relationship. Make time for intimacy. Make time for intimacy. And this is the one that I love. Make each other laugh.
Right.
Now, you know what? I can be very truthful and honest about myself. I am a very, very stubborn individual. And knowing that I am, and I alert you of my stubbornness, it's not to be used as leverage to use that against me, especially when I bring it for you. Because if we're supposed to be on the same level of understanding, when it comes to that point, and I'm addressing to you that, hey, I'm vulnerable at a state right now. And if it's not being met or having an understanding about it, I'm that type of person. I know I am. I'm, like I said, I'm guilty because I'm only speak for me. I hold grudges about certain things. I do. I have a hard channeling way of letting it go, because if I hold on to it, I'll go to bed angry. I have done it. And like I said, and I'm being honest, I'm going to be perfectly clear about me. I have gone to bed angry. I have woke up angry. I have went through the whole entire day still angry. But I'll still speak. But I'll still hold it inside about how I feel. You know, and then when I address it, I'm hoping that now we have that hearing me and listening to me solve in order to calm that savage beast down. Because that's the old person in me would do whatever I want. I can shut you down and be like, I don't care no more. And if I get to that point where I don't care, see, then I'm not really going to, you know, your feelings will be hurt. And I do care, but at the same time, I don't, is because you didn't give me that same respect in the process of me telling you about my vulnerability at that time. You know, so as that, what I'm saying, what do you see as the advice in that per se to what I could be going through, or what could somebody else that could be stubborn as me? I'm just saying.
So here's the thing, and that's most men that's stubborn, right? And that can be stubborn. But here's the thing: what releases us from being that stubborn is dissecting the behavior of your spouse, right? Gotta look, okay. Let me throw some things out and let me sit back and watch.
Mm-hmm.
Let me sit back and watch. Let me see what the reaction is, right? And if the reaction is in a negative light, right, then you know who you're dealing with. Then you know how to say, okay, you know what? I know I'm stubborn in this area, but in those conversations, you have to intensify your wants, your needs, and your desires, right? And that other person that you talk to, your wife or whoever spouse, has to do the same, right? We have to understand. It goes back to the love language, right? When we go back to that love language and that spouse knows your love language, when they're not going to be perfect, but with much practice, once they begin to know that love language, that stubbornness is going to start it's not going to dissipate. It's still going to be there, but it's not going to be a heightened awareness of that stubbornness because that spouse knows your love language. They know exactly what buttons to push, what not to push. Because that's you.
The whole back.
That's you. That's who you are. You can't. That's your makeup. And when that spouse has that education of you, those type of buttons and all of that other stuff for you to fall into that won't happen because you've expressed to them what your love language is. You know their love language, and you'll be able to tell that even in the conversations to where you won't have to hold grudges. You won't have to be stubborn because you know exactly who I am and you get me.
Get it.
Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, that was peace. That was peace.
Okay. Because here's the thing about us. Here's the thing about us men. We are notorious for shutting down.
Oh gosh.
All the time. Our fathers did it. Because why? They didn't have the education on how to approach or deal with that situation to where when they come in, boom, they mad. Now they gonna have a great day at work. They gonna be done made everybody laugh, the whole 9 yards. But then when it's time to come home,
you'd be like, really?
You know, there's a switch that's going on. And the reason why that switch is going on is because my spouse don't get me. My spouse don't know me, and they ain't trying to get to know them if they ain't trying to know me.
Yeah, but what about if you kept the same energy that you had at work?
Exactly. If you kept the same energy when you came home, sometime I come home, I be telling Alicia about my day. I bring my day home. I bring the highlights home and everything. I don't hide it from her. And she could be in her office, and I'm like, I got to tell you about this. I involve her into my day. When I involve her into my day, in turn, she involves me into her day. I feel a part of her world. She feels a part of my world. And therefore, the grudges and all of that, you know, it will kind of just slowly fade away because we're a part of each other's world.
Home and work.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I'm a pleasant person to be around. I don't know.
hey. Now earlier, boy, when you talking earlier, boy, I'm like, wait a minute now.
Please don't talk to me any kind of way.
Please, but honestly, sometimes like we don't realize like our past plays a big part in our present and our future. Right. And we're talking about seeing functioning relationships growing up and dysfunctioning relationships. People don't realize, like, as children, our safe place was outside with our friends because of what was going on inside the home. So as a child, I learned my room is my safe place.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I get my peace of mind because of the environment I grew up in, as far as seeing dysfunctionality inside the home.
Mm-hmm.
So when things kind of put me in a situation where I feel disrespected, or you talking to me any kind of way, or anything that makes me uneasy, I have to go where I can get my peace of mind. And if that means to remove myself at that point in time and go into my, what I say, my safe space, then allow me to do so and recognize that it's not to be disrespectful but to anyone, but it's to save myself mentally, because I start feeling certain kind of emotions, and you're not understanding those can be detrimental to you and I. I need that safe space. I
Right.
need to be able to be comfortable. I hate to, like, I don't divulge a lot of things to people because I hate to hear it again.
Right.
You know,
To be used
if I
against
can't
you.
if I can't say certain things to my spouse, if I can't say certain things to my boy, then we're not going to have certain conversations. So when we're around each other, yeah, I'm very pleasant because I'm not going to say certain things that will take me out of my safe zone. You know what I mean? And I think that that's a coping mechanism that
Well,
over the years that I have had.
yeah, but it's not only a coping mechanism. It's one of the things that I said that when I listed some of the 20 things, I maybe I didn't list that, is that you allow your partner or your spouse to have space or that time out or that strike break that when they need it. So that is one of the things to healthiness. That's a part of healthiness, and it is, some people call it protective mode, but you're giving them that spouse or that person that space. It's healthy to give that person that.
Okay. I want to read this real quick while we got it. And I want to make sure y'all address this. We have Miss Henderson Boy says, being stubborn can destroy a relationship or marriage. First, she says, love language does not work for all, especially if the person is stubborn. This emotion can be very destructive. And then finally, she says, some couples always bring their past into their relationships, and that could be dangerous, for what was done in the past should stay there. We are not our past. We are the present and future. So if y'all want to address those 3 lines, we can go do so. Appreciate it.
We are the past, the present, and the future.
Well, that's the last one that she says that, our what was done in the past should stay in the past. We are not our past. We are the present, and then moving into the future.
So here's the thing. I think she said something in there about sometimes the love language don't work because.
Okay, I will read it again. In the second part, she says, love language does not work for all,
Okay.
especially if the person is stubborn. This emotion can be very destructive. That was the second part.
Okay, so there's definitely disrespect in the relationship.
There's no common courtesy.
There's no common courtesy. There's that if it does not work, if love language does not work and stubborn's involved, then the relationship is pretty much a dictatorship, right? It's a dictatorship because there is no exchange for weakness. There is no
this is just a monologue. It's not a dialogue.
This is what I say. This is what I want. We had a couple one time, a police officer and an attorney. Go figure, right?
Oh, what a combination.
What a combination, right? One knew the law and one was a police officer who uphold the law, right? Okay. The husband thought that he could run the relationship just like he did. And not to mention, he was a Desert Storm veteran, right? So he was in the military, then went to the Atlanta PD, She was an attorney. He thought that by him being a soldier in the Army of leadership, then he became a leader at the LAPD. Okay, great. From military to police officer. But when you take that same mindset and go into your marriage with it, okay, hey, it spells disaster, because it was like, don't talk to me right now. Okay, I'll talk to you when I feel like it. And then he would call home, pack your bags, we going out of town. You know, it was like whatever he felt at the moment, that was great for him and the children, right? However he felt. When he was asked about why did he did that and he got pushed back, it was a problem. Okay, if you don't want this relationship, we can just go ahead and separate now. I already did it twice. There's no problem for me to do it again. Okay, everything had to be ran on his feelings, how he met, and he did not want to take in that. He didn't want to even go into his wife's world, but we had to show and pretty much reiterate his actions. When he would talk to us, we would reenact his conversation with his wife, and then it was like a mirror. He saw himself. It was like, wow, I didn't think that I was acting like that. All right. When he saw himself from us coaching him, he made the minor adjustments to where the wife was in fear of showing him himself, because he was so hard, he was so tough, and he was aggressive in the relationship. But here's the thing, he wanted respect. She couldn't give him respect because she didn't know how to reach him, right? Some couples, it's hard. You go into the relationship, but then after familiarity sets in, when comfortability sets in, I covered it up for about 6 months, but now this is who I am. It's like, who the hell is this person?
And that's the realization stage.
And it's like, when I didn't see this coming. So now it's like I'm pulling, trying to reach him. I'm pulling, trying to reach her. And there's no reaching. Pretty much, there's one or two things. Either you're going to leave or you're going to stay for security reasons.
Right.
And when it's security reasons, you're putting security at a high level than how you really feel. Right. Because you're comfortable with security, with the funds and the finances, and that's what we were talking earlier. That's when it becomes a entanglement. Right?
Bow, rest my case.
That's right there. Drops the bomb. Okay, hit that bomb for me one time. Hit that bomb for me one time, man.
I wish you would tell me. I'm gonna get it. I know all that. All this was shut down.
hey, don't worry about it here.
That was dynamic. That was
dynamic. And great. I don't care how long we're on this subject, there's always gonna be something left on the table.
Oh yeah.
But I want to thank y'all for coming, and I want y'all to know how much I really appreciate y'all being on the show. And
oh man, we enjoy
and opening doors for individuals to learn how to love each other, rekindle that love, and understand each other's love language. Because if not, I don't know who else was better to teach that lesson. I don't know who better else to teach that lesson. And it's funny. The best people to go to is always family, those that you're comfortable with.
That's it.
And
is that true though? But is that really true?
No.
It is in this case, because when I picked that phone up and I reached out, they came. It wasn't even hesitation.
Okay, I'm understanding that, but I mean, like
not
earlier,
always.
Okay, like earlier situation, we can have a best friend, and sometimes the best friend's advice may not be the right one because we don't know what's circling in their mind, and what they're giving could be negative energy to put in for a purpose of their own, because we all know misery loves company.
Right.
But you know that individual anyway. But I want to say in here, Ms. Henderson Boyd, thank you for saying it's a very good show. DJ Dre, of course, they home here. Rebooking them, they can call us and tell us when they ready to come back.
They gotta rebook them. All they gotta do is say plug us in.
Plug us in, you know.
Plug us in.
Oh yeah.
That's it. But like you said, you know, it's always a pleasure. And on top of that, you know, I love seeing my family. I haven't seen my family in a long time. You know what I mean? So this is an opportunity. I get a chance to see her, you know what I'm saying, see how happy she is. And on top of that, that she deserved the happiness that she has, because she's truly a beautiful lady. Always have been. Her and her sisters. You know what I mean? So I'll thank you, Brother Chaz, for making sure my sister's taking well care.
Hey man, you see her. I got a cover, man.
Yeah, my jaw's hurting.
I got a cover, man. And I'm gonna tell you, Alicia, when she came into my life in a time where she saved my life, bro. I can tell you that now. You know, she saved my life when we actually met. She didn't know it, but you know, over time, man, when we were dating, I was like, I gotta have her. I gotta have her. So, you know, and in turn, God took our purpose, took our desires, took our love for one another, and now we're just sharing it with the world.
There we go.
Like I say, hey, you know what time it is, bro. I got to get ready to do my 2-step.
My wife says a great show. She's been listening. So, hey, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Real 360 show with our dynamic guest as well as family. I don't even need to say guest no more. They're family. So I just want to show them that the love is always there and appreciated. Chaz and Alicia Cohens, we love y'all. Y'all are beautiful. I think, man, I got the highest accolades of love and admiration for y'all. So you know the deal whenever y'all ready to come back, because this is a 2-part series here.
All right.
We're on the third installment.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for tuning in. Our followers, our listeners, and subscribers. We thank you for channeling on us and everything, and supporting Real 360 for everything we've done. You can also catch us on Discover TV and watch our series as we promote our shows here. All right. And that's the thing we want to do, is shout out to our sponsors. We want to say Christian Lawson, yeah.
Christian Lawson, yeah.
Christian Lawson, our sponsor right out there. We thank y'all and everything. And everybody, support everybody. One love, one nation. Let's get it right.